am your host, Coach Jake. This is the place where we talk about business, we talk about combat sports, we talk about pro wrestling, we talk about folk style wrestling, we talk about scholastic wrestling, we talk about Olympic wrestling, we talk about MMA, all of that stuff. What's up, Dido, Fella, Green Riot, Joel? Oh, wait, you can't hear me? Are you serious? Can you not hear me? Hold on. What's going on? Can you guys hear me? Can you guys hear me? Yes or no? Give me a yes. Give me a thumbs up or a thumbs down if you can or cannot hear me. Can you guys hear me on Instagram? I got to make sure everybody can hear me. What's up? Yo, I can hear you. Okay. What's up, Joel? Well, let's get started on this. Who we got here? Thank you, guys. Appreciate that. I just want to make sure, don't want to be blowing smoke into nothingness here. Somebody just, who's that? Said they opened up Hooker by Luthez. Yeah, interesting book. Akash Boat. Hey, buddy. Edward opened is on that. Appreciate all you guys giving me the feedback. So, yeah, let's talk, man. So I'm not a huge fan of pro wrestling. I did pro wrestling, okay, but I'm not a huge fan of it. The reason is because I want real wrestling. So the whole point, you want to figure out what the mission of scientific wrestling is. I want to improve the lives of every man, woman, and child on this planet through scientific wrestling. Why? For multiple reasons. Okay? One, because I believe wrestling, competitive wrestling, is the greatest form of personal development known to humankind. Okay? It makes you a better person. It's a great form of exercise. It teaches you a lot of important lessons about responsibility, about, being tough and resilient. And I think it's a great spectator sport as well if it's done right. In particular, I tell people all the time, catch as catch can wrestling is the biggest, most impactful combat sport, martial art the history's ever known. If we quantify the number of people that have been positively impacted as fans, athletes, coaches, and promoters by the sport of catch as catch can and its derivatives, namely, that's catch as catch can, all fans, athletes, coaches, and promoters, Olympic wrestling, scholastic wrestling, WWE wrestling, and UFC MMA. All those are direct, not even controversial, massive, the most impactful combat sport martial art in the history of mankind. Now, I am with scientific wrestling on multiple tiers. I'm doing multiple levels at the same time. The first thing that I'm trying to do is I'm trying to educate people about catch as catch can, which is professional wrestling, competitive grappling under professional wrestling rules, mostly singles matches. Okay. So Edward says it makes sense that pro wrestling happened because they needed to make money, but the roots of pro wrestling is true catch. So that's what I'm trying to bring it back to. Thank you, Edward. You're right. So that's why I've started Shoot Pro Wrestling, the King of Catch Wrestling, the only competitive grappling combat sport with a rule set co-developed by Carl Gotch, the godfather of MMA. Listen, so I'm not down on pro wrestling. In fact, I've been knocking on doors trying to sell this idea for 25 years. That's the only reason why you guys know me, because I'm a persistent mofo and I don't quit, which is what I learned from wrestling. Okay. So I understand. I tried 25 years knocking on grappling's door, mostly BJJ because it's what's popular now, knocking on MMA's door. And they didn't want to really hear it. And that's cool. I get it. MMA, as it is now, is promoted like boxing. Totally different, right? Dana White comes from a boxing background. No problem. It is what it is. Grappling is so the narrative, the propaganda is just on the BJJ tip, dude. It's not factual, but it is what it is. The common person that's not a nerd and goes deep into this. So that said, I stopped knocking on those doors and I started knocking on pro wrestling doors saying, hey, you guys run a variety show. Okay. Yeah. It's theatrical. It's scripted. Cool. It's dangerous. You guys are crazy athletes doing flips, like wild, amazing stuff you guys do. I did it myself. I feel you. I'm down. However, I believe that competitive grappling deserves a seat at the table. You got bras and panty matches. You got table ladder chairs matches. You got hardcore. You got all these things. Cool. We just want to see at the table. That is my vision. Competitive grappling under professional wrestling rules, and that is catch wrestling. However, you got to keep it fresh. And so, with Shoe Pro, we ran the first ever competitive tag team. I mean, dude, there's a reason why I call my stuff number one, because we're the first to do it. Okay. But I also want to make sure we're the last, meaning we're the ones that get the credit for all the work, laying the groundwork. Just because I'm 20 years ahead of everybody else doesn't mean it needs to be taken out from under us. Now, I want to talk about pro wrestling for a second, given that, because we're going to put my vision for Shoe Pro is to put the pro wrestling wrapping, veneer, polish onto competitive grappling. We've seen it. I was there. Real Pro Wrestling, 2005, King Mo, all these great athletes. It didn't go because they tried to make it like folk style wrestling with like an American Gladiators wrapping. It wasn't good. I know that we have the formula. This is amazing. At the turn of the 19th to the 20th century, catch-can wrestling, competitive grappling under professional wrestling rules, singles matches, was the most popular sport, bigger than boxing, bigger than baseball, bigger than anything, because it sells. I'm just telling you guys that human nature has not changed that much in 100 years. We've got 100 million billion years of history and evolution that made that why it was what it is, and why grappling and wrestling is like the oldest sport. Anyway, I want to talk about the theatrical stuff for just a moment, okay? Because I want to take advantage of the marketing and the promotional genius that professional wrestling has done. We could see this in the TKO Endeavor merger. WWE was valued like almost twice of what the acquisition of UFC was. It just goes to show you the revenues, pro wrestling is built into the very fabric of Americana. You understand? So anyway, what I wanted to get to, and this is not a crap on Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson session, but maybe it will turn into that way. First thing I got to ask you guys, how many of you guys actually like him or are turned off by him? I'm not a fan of The Rock. Maybe a great guy. I don't know him personally, but I'm definitely not a fan. And I think that we can see that there are some problems because, TKO is brand new. And they've been plagued with controversy from the beginning because of the wildness of Vince McMahon, the accusations, some of them false, some of them true, who knows? Not good. Okay. Then they brought in The Rock in some sort of like chairman capacity. Did you guys hear this? That means he's also going to be a chairman over UFC. This is a guy who, because, in my opinion, because of his ego and his lack of connection to what people actually want, and probably a bunch of yes men telling him a bunch of stuff, and him being like 50 plus years old, jacked on steroids, whatever the case may be. I don't know, but dude, guarantee if we had you saw it on him, dude, he'd go through the roof. There's no way a guy that age looks like that at that size. Anyway, my point is this. There was just a deal where, it was supposed to be Roman Reigns, a guy who they built up. This is the genius of pro wrestling with regards to selling, right? In terms of promoting, marketing, and sales. They built up Roman Reigns. He's got this great cachet, this great gravitas. And then they also built up Cody Rhodes, who's done so much great work in being a populist, and he's done amazing things in business as well. I mean, AEW, the big rival to WWE, would not exist without that all-in effort that Cody was doing with NWA. That's what brought us to AEW. So, he was able to sell that concept to Tony Khan. Now, I would really like to touch on this because, we just saw this overwhelming negative response where it was supposed to be Cody Rhodes because he won the Rumble versus Roman Reigns. It's been that way, dude. Like this kind of crap people don't like. They decided to have The Rock versus Roman Reigns at WrestleMania. I don't know about you, man. Like, people aren't feeling The Rock. First of all, unbelievable negative response on YouTube. Unbelievable. Overwhelming. Okay? Look at the DCU, dude. Dwayne's vision to make the whole DCU revolve around Black Adam took a giant crap. He ended up probably being the one getting Henry Cavill ousted from Superman. Like, and I'm not dogging him. I'm just like, he's just not the guy anymore. I don't know, man. He's not the guy. He thinks he's the guy, but I don't know, man. Edward Ramos says The Rock is old. Yeah, dude, like he's old and it's not working anymore, man. I don't know what to, anybody else with me on that? I'm just trying to scroll through these comments, see if I got anybody. Yeah. Okay. So Edward, I'm with you, dude. The thing is this, man, this is bigger than just some weird bodybuilder, fake fighting, stuntman drama show. This is really about the struggles, honestly, that we as entrepreneurs and people that are in business or sales or marketing face. And that you've got to be resilient, right? Because like they took this risk. The people at the top thought, oh, of course, The Rock. Yeah, let's put him in. It'll be a no-brainer. And the people were like, no, not having it, done. So what do? Do you force it down the people's throat and destroying your brand because you don't listen to the people that are actually tuning in and paying? What it tells me is people really, really want Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns. Okay? Joel, appreciate you, says, you're right, The Rock is old and washed up. I don't mean to dog anybody. I'm just like, you just got at a certain point, got to deal with reality. Plus, The Rock got all political, started supporting like Biden and Harris. And all. It's like, dude, nobody cares. It's like Taylor Swift. Nobody cares. Get the hell out. Go sing a song or, make a movie. Nobody likes that. You're getting worse. Like, you think you can tell people what to think and believe, and that's how crazy delusional you've gotten with yes men around you. Okay? I mean, I don't know. Am I wrong? Are you a huge Rock fan? Am I wrong? Where I really got clued into this was as a historian. I started doing all this research, particularly when I was writing Billy Robinson's book. And, prior to that, The Rock went on, he was on Arsenio Hall. He was telling this story, famous story about how Peter Maeva, his granddad, and Billy Robinson got into a fight. And he, in The Rock's story was that Maeva beat him up and all this stuff. And I'm like, okay, highly unlikely. I actually know Billy. I know what he was able to do. I know him, who he was able to train in real fighting, like MMA, not bullshit. Legend to catch as catch can. Won every amateur thing before going pro. So I showed Billy, and he was like, oh, yeah, that's nonsense. That's because of The Rock's grandmother, who is a known felon. Like, even The Rock admits this. This woman has been to jail and on trial for lying in the business or whatever. And so then The Rock is continuing to tell her story, her version, which is completely wrong. Like, he said that he like gouged out one of Billy's eyes, and that's why he's blind. These are all completely baseless. I could prove factually that pictures prior to him ever noting Peter Maeva, Billy had his cornea ripped off as in a childhood accident. It's the whole reason he became a wrestler instead of a boxer, because he couldn't get the license. Like, these are facts. So, I don't know, man. Like, I've always been really skeptical of The Rock. Never found him that great. Edward Ramos, is that The Rock's grandfather? Yeah, Peter Maeva. What ended up happening, you could see it's. So when I showed that to Billy, it was prior to us really finishing the book. He put a whole section to set the record straight about that whole scenario. And there was tons of witnesses, guys, George Gordienko and a number of other people that corroborated the story. Anyway, you've got to, if you're a business owner, so now they had to kick out Vince McMahon because, is the guy guilty? I mean, it's like, I look at this almost like we've got to be looking at the lessons of the whole Me Too thing and like, look at Johnny Depp. He now can't be Jack Sparrow, like all this kind of stuff. And none of it was true. We got footage after the trial came out that all the lies and the tarnish and the smearing that did destroy him and took millions and millions of dollars out of his potential future earnings ended up being totally fake and false. And so we look at this thing with McMahon and this woman, Janelle, it looks like it was completely voluntary, totally gross. I mean, I'm not saying it's not gross. I'm like, oh my God, you guys are weirdos. But like, it's like dragging him through the mud. So he gets boosted. So now, booted. So now WWE's in all this trouble, right? And they're scrambling and they remove him. They erase him from WWE history. And by the way, mid-90s, Mr. McMahon as the bad guy boss is some of the greatest television ever made. So I hope they don't just like scrub that, because him versus Stone Cold was some of the greatest stuff in the world, right? Edward Ramos, the promoters need to sell better or we need something new. Well, that's what I'm trying to provide, Edward, is Shoot Pro Wrestling. Go to shootprowrestling.com. We're doing really amazing things. We've got Pat Mitch involved, which is so exciting to me. This is just mind-blowing time for me personally. I know that we're, in the last year, I've added 120,000 followers to Scientific Wrestling, most of it organic, like 99% of it organic. I can prove it. It's amazing to me. It's like 500, 600 followers a day since April of last year. It's just mind-blowing to me how crazy things are going for us right now. And I'm very grateful. And thank you to you guys that are supporting us. I am trying to create something new. I think what we're doing was a very, very interesting prelude to this merger between UFC and whatnot. We got Jonathan Brown. I don't think they will. Brock isn't coming back because he got named. Yeah. I mean, it's a mess, dude. It's a mess. It's a mess, dude. It's a mess. So TKO is this giant machine that's got to manage this, right? So my view is you need to listen to the customer, not to some wonky expert. Not if you're getting that much of a negative response on the YouTube, which is where people actually comment, assuming it's not bots or some AI that's manipulating it, that's secretly against The Rock or some conspiracy shit. They should probably figure out a way to get The Rock as far away from things as possible. They're already drowning. Okay? So that's really why I'm bringing this up, because my vision for Shoot Pro Wrestling, which is competitive grappling, 20 years I've been on this, guys, competitive grappling under professional wrestling rules. My vision for this, over 20 years, since 2003. My vision for this, I want a big platform. Imagine this. It's 5 years from now, 3 years from now. I push and I'm swinging for the rafters here, and we get our show and we keep pushing it and we get Shoot Pro going. Imagine having then a partnership with the distribution of UFC and WWE. It would put Catch as Catch Can, Scientific Wrestling, where it actually deserves to be. We could set the record straight on all the bullshit, all the propaganda, all the narrative nonsense, right? So, what did, let's see. Silverback, what's up, Morgan? We want Cody. Yeah, the thing is this. Edward Ramos, I got to get out of here, but keep fighting for Catch. You know it, dude. 20 plus years, man. 20 years. You ain't stopping me. Like it's inevitable. The momentum we have right now is breaking, which is great. Like we are seriously skyrocketing right now. So I appreciate you guys sharing and pushing. Jimmy Hovey, do they have amateur tournaments? Who's they? Assalamu alaikum. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum to you. I don't know who you mean they. We do. With March, I want to say 24th. I think it's the date. We're having down in Imperial Beach, Southern California. We're having another King of Catch tournament. This was the first modern Catch as Catch Can competitions in the modern age since like the Alhambra tournaments like 100 years prior. right here, this guy and Carl Gotch. I asked Carl to help me write some rules. So we've been doing that since 2007, man. We're coming up on 20 years of competitive catch can, thanks to us. And then other people following us. I won't use the word stealing. Following us, especially those ones that give us credit. Appreciate you. So, we've got to look at what works in pro wrestling for this idea of shoot pro wrestling, where we have competitive, legit grappling under pro wrestling rules. It's been an amalgamation of things that have really made me very, very firm in this idea. If we look at what made UFC, we all know, if you're at least familiar at all with this material in the history, it was the Ultimate Fighter TV show. UFC was really struggling, having a hard time. Yeah, they brought in the Athletic Commission, was great, but it did not have the penetration that it does now until the Forrest Bonner situation at Ultimate Fighter. But what was Ultimate Fighter TV show? It was a shoot pro wrestling show. It was. They took a bunch of people, had a bunch of backstage drama, just wasn't scripted. It was reality TV, which is another form of entertainment, sports entertainment. Put them in a room, put them in a house, got the backstage vignettes to build up the drama, the story, and then resolved it in the ring. That's pro wrestling. Okay, they just did it instead of with writers. They did it with reality TV. Not much different other than that. That proven formula, TV, on television, pro wrestling is the longest running form of entertainment. Okay? Silverback says, damn, Jake, I never thought about it like that. Good point. That was pro wrestling. It was. That's what put MMA back on the map. MMA started due to Carl Gotch and Inoki and Gene LaBelle and catch wrestlers, not jiu-jitsu. You got to get some grappling literacy here, guys. You got to get up to speed on the business. Okay, Jonathan Brown says, without a TO, you would need consistent house show business, big personalities, and draw. Yeah, no, what the vision is here, what I've been working towards, and I'm swinging for the fences. I've got an incredible team. I've got a minimum viable product. You can go to shootprowrestling.com, look at the roster. We got world champions on the roster so far. We're getting more and more better ones. Not better, but bigger names and whatnot. And I got 3 shows under our belt. We've got a minimum viable product. What I need capital partners. I need broadcast partners and distribution partners. I've almost got a broadcast partner. I've almost got a distribution partner and almost got a capital partner. We're really, really close on a lot of this. But those kind of deals at this level, it's about frequency. So if you know somebody that's interested in being a capital partner, a broadcast partner, distribution partner, or some combination therein, let me know. Jonathan Brown says, Jim Cornette says UFC does pro wrestling better than pro wrestling. Cornette's an interesting character. Stupid politics, weird. He had to talk about another guy that's controversial and does kinky, weird, gross stuff like McMahon. But he's a huge Billy Robinson mark, so at least he has that going for him. So guys, where I'm going with this is that what works in pro wrestling, if we look at it analytically and with the grappling literacy lens, the power of storytelling. This is what all branding is really about at some level. WWE crafts these super compelling narratives around its athletes. This is what Pride did so great. UFC doesn't do it. They try to do it like boxing, and it doesn't go as well. Maybe that will change with this merger. I don't know. So you've got to, like, if you're a business owner, you got to start thinking about how can pro wrestling business is very, very interesting to if you're a business owner, to look at what they do. The business, when the guys they call it a work. The fakeness, okay, the predetermined. I don't like that fakeness because it's offensive to a lot of the athletes that break bones and take risks. But the predeterminedness of it is called a work. Okay, it's also called selling. Okay, and you're also called a wrestling promoter. These are the most important things in business: promoting and selling and working. I mean, really, there's a lot that you as an entrepreneur or a business owner can learn just from the culture of wrestling and how successful wrestling is at selling the product that it does. So the power of storytelling and branding, that's crucial. 2, you got to make an emotional connection. Okay? You got to get an audience response and pay attention to it. And this is really where they're starting to lose it. Putting The Rock on the board, and this guy is so self-serving, the first thing he does is puts himself in the main event of WrestleMania. It's what he tried to do with the DC Extended Universe and tanked the whole thing. It just imploded, dude, with his nonsense. Everybody lost faith, right? So Matheson, Josh Burnett once said pro wrestling needs to be 50% shoot, 50% work. I disagree if he did say that. I don't know if I ever heard him say that, and it's Barnett. If whoever says that, whether he said it or not, I disagree. I think it needs to be 100% shoot inside the ring. 100% shoot. You can deal with the outcome just like any other fight promotion of how does the narrative and the story go. Don't be lazy. Don't try to plan things out years in advance. Be responsive. Pay attention. The excitement and the unpredictableness of reality is great, okay? I think that it needs to be 100% shoot inside the ring. When that bell, from bell to bell, needs to be 100% competitive grappling, period. It needs to be bettable, no works, no dives, none of that. That's my vision. Outside the ring, it could be 100% work. It could be 0% work. People could really hate each other. They could actually be best buds, and they build a narrative to sell it. I have no problem with the theatrics outside of the ring. That's the vision of Shoot Pro. So 100% shoot, bell to bell inside the ring. Any amount of work, as long as it's ethical and people have a wink and a nod and realize that that's being used to sell the match. But let's be real. This is already happening in boxing and UFC. Look at somebody like Conor McGregor. He's ramping it up. He's selling. I'm sure he doesn't, like, he's just kind of a comedian about it. Does that make sense? So you got to start leveraging storytelling in your branding. You've got to start really clocking emotional engagement and audience response. Okay. You do, even in this case though. So they've like how resilient is this company? All the negative press from Vince McMahon, all the negative response to The Rock, and they're still pushing forward. Now, if they don't adapt, they're going to lose that very, very tenuous attention that they have. Okay. And the market share and the stock price. Okay. You've got to, every entrepreneur knows the sting of negative feedback, right? And you got to take it on the chin. And The Rock, if he actually cares about the business and not about The Rock, will back away and figure this out, because he's already tanked the DC extended universe with his ego, bro. Matheson, pro wrestling in the early 1920s should have put 5 rounds with 5-minute rounds in between and have a point system. Okay, dude. I mean, yeah. And Hitler should have been killed when he was a baby. I mean, that's cool. But yeah, I mean, I don't know about all that. And it's not rounds, it's falls. So different language. What I could see is that in America, under the no holds barred rulings, the rule set where you had Evan Strangler Lewis and those guys, it blew up with obviously Gotch and all those guys. It blew up. It got massively popular. That's all I'm saying. And I'm saying it's relevant today because of MMA, but we need to start promoting competitive grappling using a rule set we know is very popular and simple to make it a spectator sport, and figure out the promotional tricks and wisdom of 100 years or however many, 150 years, 170 years of promoting professional wrestling and making $1 billion enterprise out of it. What was it sold for? $8 billion. $1 billion is 1,000 million. A million's 1,000 times 8. That's insanity how huge it is. Matheson says, I'm just trying to come up with ideas to make pro wrestling right again. Go watch Shoot Pro Wrestling. I think we got the formula, man. People are losing their minds with it. And it's all shoot. Outside the ring, maybe there's some drama, whatever. Inside the ring, all shoot. Jimmy Hovey, go to shootprowrestling.com, dude. You can see it. We do have a point system for championship and for TV, because we do know that if we get a TV show, we've got to have it sit within a time frame. So there are rules, and we've figured all that out. You need to check it out. So, okay, we've got branding and storytelling. We've got emotional connection and emotional response. Silverback says, dude is self-centered. He's talking about The Rock. He ran into these same problems with the Fast Saga review. Fast and Furious, yeah, refusing to lose a fight to certain characters, then the DC Universe, and now WWE. He's a poison to any company. Dude, you nailed it. I had even forgotten about the Fast and Furious. This is clearly like a pattern. We're seeing replication happening everywhere. This freaking ding-dong is. I'm sorry, TKO. You made a mistake, and you need to freaking adapt, improvise, and change. Okay, so what else besides storytelling and branding is important for your business? What else besides audience engagement and being able to pivot on their reaction, making sure you're delivering what the people who support you want? Innovative marketing strategies, dude. Right? I mean, WWE is really, really genius. They did the rock and wrestling connection. Like, Vince is really a brilliant marketer. You could say all you want about his personal life, which is gross. But man, that guy's a genius at selling and marketing. And then, the other thing that I really like about the wrestling business is that, it shows that there is a connection sometimes between physical fitness and business success. And again, I'm going to reference Vince McMahon. Like, we all know his shortcomings, but, I think a lot of people gloss over on how hard that guy worked. He was like the hardest working guy up until like he just left, like he's 80 or something, 78. He was the first in, last out, and was still working out and jacked as hell. A lesson to be learned there, probably more so in like the role of being physically fit and resilient to all this stuff to still push through, right? So let's look at what's going on here. I think people want Cody. Cody, again, a legit amateur wrestling champion whose dad was in the business. This guy is more on the shoot side and does a great job. And makes super sacrifices for the business. And just because The Rock walks in, they take him out. He's the underdog. Don't you understand? Cody Rhodes is the epitome of an underdog. He's got a lisp, and he gets up there in front of everybody confidently. Like, this guy is money to the common person, to the person who pays for all the stuff, the customer. Matheson says, pro wrestling needs to be treated like it's a professional sport. When it is treated like that, it becomes real. It is treated like a sports entertainment. It sucks. Well, I mean, they're doing something right for all the things they do wrong. But what I'm saying is that let's take the promotional marketing and the rule set of pro wrestling and do it 100% competitive. You get it? Now, let me ask you guys a question. I got this feedback. I think it's nonsense. Somebody once said to me, and this is a smart guy, so I want to get your opinion, that the word shoot pro wrestling makes people think of like Columbine or something like that, like guns. I don't think so. I think most people are smart enough to pro wrestling, the $8 billion business, that shooting means competitive, like competition, that words have different meanings in different contexts. In the wrestling context, has nothing to do with that. I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong, but dude, the name Shoot Pro Wrestling is the greatest name that I could come up with. I think it's perfect. I think it references the history. It keeps it in the pro wrestling family and says exactly what we're doing, that it's competitive. I think it's, we call it shoot style, like, I mean, I don't know. Anyway, guys, I'm going to jump. I've got a client here that I got to service on business coaching in about 20 minutes. I always appreciate all you guys with your feedback and engagement. Silverback, that's the dumbest shit I've ever heard. I'm sorry. No offense to the intelligent person who said that. Oh, about Shoot Pro. Yeah, they're not. They're kind of new to the business. And yeah, I agree, and I've doubled down. There's no way I'm backing away way, I think it's the greatest name for the product, Shoot Pro Wrestling. It's like you could shorten it to Shoot Pro, which then takes the pro wrestling out of it if you need to. But I believe that wrestling fans, whether it's, and this is the derivatives of catch as catch can. If we bring back catch wrestling under the idea of Shoot Pro Wrestling, go to shootprowrestling.com, check it out. If we bring back catch wrestling, if we bring it back, we're going to pull in pro wrestling fans, MMA fans, and scholastic and Olympic wrestling fans. Okay? Silverback says any real wrestling fan knows what shoot means. Yeah, I think you're right. So anyway, guys, I really, really appreciate you. Thank you for joining me on the No1 Podcast today. We've really taken kind of a journey back and forth between the wrestling room, the wrestling ring, and the boardroom, and really learning about, you know, good sportsmanship, the role of competition, feedback, customer service, making sure you're branding your client. So whether you're a budding entrepreneur or, you know, a seasoned business warrior, remember, the whole world is your arena, right? Let's fight smart. Let's engage deeply. Let's sell and work and promote, and never forget the power of a really good story, right? All right, guys, until next time, keep striving to be number one. This is Coach Jake. Hit me up in the DMs if I could be of any assistance.